this month we have Amy Mast. Amy, how long have you been doing what you're doing? What do you do, and who do you do it with, and how long have you been doing it?
Yeah, wow, that's a big question. So I became a giant in 2018, and then proceeded to use the giant content and the tools with the areas of influence that I already had. And up to that point, I'd been an athletic trainer for 18 years. And so my direct influence was with athletic teams. So football team is what I started with. And then that evolved into lots of other teams. Was very successful, got a lot of traction right away. But it wasn't long until this role with Giant HQ came up. And I tried to ignore the description when I read it for the role, because I had, of course, had my 5-year plan and I wanted to stick to it, but I couldn't get it out of my mind, and interviewed for it, got this role for HQ. So what I do for Giant HQ is that I am a member of the people team. And so there's 4 of us on the people team. And so our purpose every single day is to make sure that people like John and Eddie and Jimmy and everybody else on this call that is certified through Giant, that they have what they need. They have the tools that they need, the resources, they're well connected, they have areas and ways that they can collaborate with one another. They have ways that they can meet with us one-on-one to ask questions. And so every day we're just fighting for the folks that are using the Giant content to liberate their people in whatever way they feel called to do so. So that's my role. And I'm excited to be here today with you guys.
Yeah, Amy's been a trailblazer, and she serves us sacrificially. So we're thankful for you for going ahead and showing us the way, showing us the ropes. We talk a lot about the Sherpa mentality, and a Sherpa is a hiker from Nepal who is a guide that helps hikers climb Mount Everest every year. And their job is to go ahead of their people as the guide, make sure the way is safe, make sure it's clear, make sure all the ropes are taut, the ladders are right. And then it's their job to go back down, get their people, and then lead them up. And so Amy, we refer to sometimes as our wonderful Sherpa, all of our great leaders. So thank you. But you're going to teach us a tool today, the maximizing team performance. Why did you want to bring that tool for us?
I love this tool, and some of my clients, because even though I hold a role at Giant HQ, they're generous in allowing us to serve our own clients because they believe that makes us very relevant. I don't have a ton of clients. I'm fairly selective with who I'm able to serve, who I have the capacity to serve. But they have a joke that every tool that I introduce, I always say, I love this tool. It's one of my favorite tools. And they're they can't all be your favorite.
Sure, why not?
But they kind of are. So one of the reasons I love this tool is because it actually ends up being one of the ones that I lead with all the time. If I'm having a initial conversation with someone, whether it's a prospect or whether it is a leader that is really, communicating with me on their frustrations, their pain points, what they need to help solve their issues, this is usually the tool that I pull up and show them right out of the gate, because people understand this tool. It makes sense to them if they are a part of an organization that needs to align people and to get certain things accomplished on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual basis. They understand this tool. And so that's why I chose this one today. So do you want me to launch right into it or any other kind of prefaces? And I have until what time, John?
Let's go till 16 after, and then we'll start landing the plane by 20.
Perfect. Yeah, no, that's perfect. Okay. So, as you can see, there's a lot of things going. It's simple, but yet there's a lot going on here. So we call it the maximizing team performance flywheel is kind of what I refer to it all the time, or in short, often it ends up becoming the team performance flywheel. But really what leaders are trying to do, team leaders are always trying to maximize their team's performance. They always want to get more done in a day with the same amount of people and the same amount of resources. How do we do that? How do we accomplish more? How do we serve more people? How do we make more of an impact and more of a difference in the world with the same resources and the same people that we currently have? And everybody is looking to try to do that. And that's capacity. That's really the definition of capacity, is how do we raise our capacity with yes, we of course sometimes need to increase our resources or increase our people, but ultimately we want to be able to get more done in a day with the same people, with the same amount of resources. I mean, and eliminate some inefficiencies so that we can raise the ceiling, right? So that really is the kind of the visual that I give when we're talking about capacity, is like, how do we raise the ceiling? Because so many leaders and teams feel like they keep hitting the same ceiling all the time. When they visualize, man, why can't we ever get past that point? It seems like we should be able to come up here, but we're always hitting the ceiling right here. And that's very frustrating for them, and they don't know how to solve it. They pull in all kinds of things that help them with some of the last parts of this flywheel, but then they don't know how to get to the heart of where to start. So these elements are all numbered for a reason. So if we start with number one, as you can see, that's communication, and it's number one for a reason. In our beliefs, in our world, we believe that without healthy communication, without an objective common language to speak with one another, it's next to impossible to develop relational trust, which is number two. So relational trust and psychological safety is number two. So for those of you that have people in your world that you need to trust, and I guarantee all of you have people in your world that you trust, how easy is it to trust people that you can't communicate with, that you find it challenging? It seems like you're always speaking a different language, that when you speak, it doesn't even seem like they hear you. Or when they speak, you're just like, I thought I heard them say this, but then they went and asked for something different. I must have misunderstood, right? And so there's communication breakdown all the time. And when I have the opportunity to work with some of the younger generation, like high schoolers and things like that, I love to kind of phrase it like, how easy is it for you to establish a relationship, say, a boyfriend or a girlfriend? How easy is it to establish a relationship without talking? At least like Snapchatting or texting or whatever their venue is right now. How easy is it for you to establish a relationship with somebody without at least talking with them? And everybody is like, yeah, you can't, doesn't work that way. There are barriers to that. And so it makes sense that communication has to come first. And we at Giant, the reason we have all of these tools and the reason they're so simple and that we give you a language with every single tool is because the language needs to be objective, which that insinuates it's not subjective. We all bring so much subjectivity to our world every single day. We all come with our own perspectives, our own opinions, and we're usually fairly clear on our own perspective and opinions, but we're not always as clear on everybody else's. But what the Giant language and the Giant tools is meant to do is give you an objective way to communicate with one another of your perspective and your opinions and thoughts and feelings, right? And so we start always with number one, with communication. And that truly is the heart of Giant, is we give you language through visual tools. So then number two, that relational trust and that psychological safety is a huge buzzword right now. Everybody kind of is craving that. How do you create psychological safety in those environments for team life? So the benefit to creating that is that everybody has a chance to show up and bring their best every single day. And the alternative of not creating relational trust and psychological safety is that people don't get to show up and bring their best every day. They maybe don't feel heard. They don't feel valued. They feel misunderstood constantly. They feel like maybe the culture is really great one day, but the next day it could be blown up. There's never any kind of consistency. And often with organizations, because every organization really is just a compilation of teams, right? And so often we hear that, oh, the engineering team doesn't trust and get along with the sales team, or the IT team really doesn't like working with our, marketing team, or whatever it ends up being, right? Like there's kinds of frictions and silos and those kinds of things that happen if there's not relational trust, right? And so then the next thing, number 3, is alignment. Alignment is that getting everybody on the same page. Are we all together? Are we moving in the same direction? And that comes next after having established some communication, broken down some of the walls, and everybody's starting to trust one another. Now that they can communicate effectively, now everybody can start to move effectively in the same direction, because the alternative of that is that this team's going this way, this team's going that way, this team's doing something else completely. Like, they all kind of are operating under their own pace, under their own agendas, all of those different kinds of things. And so I always define alignment, true alignment, as getting all of your people in your teams moving efficiently in the same direction, having the same end goal. Then the byproduct of getting communication, relational trust, and alignment down, then you can focus on execution. All right, guys, we have been executing somewhat successfully, maybe 70% success rate, but I think we can be better, right? Now that we've kind of eliminated some of these inefficiencies, now I believe we can execute more successfully more of the time, right? So let's start to get into the weeds and the nitty gritty of what are some of these inefficiencies that we can eliminate. Is there duplicate work happening? Is there maybe gaps or things that are completely not happening at all? Is there missed deadlines happening? Let's really clean this up and shore it up. But they can do that and they can address it in a healthy way because they've done the work prior to, right? Now, getting to number 5, guess what? If you do all of these other 4 elements well, you don't really even have to work on capacity, because it's a natural byproduct of doing everything else really, really well. So no longer is that team getting frustrated and hitting that ceiling that they're just like, why can't we get past this? All of a sudden, the wheels are turning. Everybody's getting what they need. Everyone's feeling heard. Everyone's showing up to work with energy and love, the environment that they're in. And they're excited about being clear on the end goal and being a part of something bigger than just themselves. That capacity all of a sudden starts to raise, and all of a sudden that ceiling is higher and higher. And that's when you start to see teams grow. They start to, whether it's opening another location, whether it is, maybe what I hear all the time is from leaders, all of a sudden they're able to tackle a project that's been shelved for years, that they're like super excited about. It's like, man, we've had this vision of this one thing for so long, but we've never been able to get to it. That's what raising capacity looks like. All of a sudden the door is open, and they can actually say, all right, you guys are working really efficiently. Now I get to go work on starting a new initiative that is going to get us closer to growth that we've been dreaming of for so long. And so the last thing I'm going to say is that this flywheel is meant to be a moving organism, right? If all 5 elements are green and growing and thriving, then it's a moving flywheel, right? It's very fluid. But if any one of the elements is yellow or red, meaning that they're dysfunctional and they need growth, then that flywheel is going to grind to a stop, and it will not be a fluid moving organism that is full of growth. So I love this tool. As you can see, very passionate about it. You can use it in so many different ways. There's an assessment that we have that is specific to this, that's on our platform. So if you have teams that you want to see, how do we do in each one of these categories, you can talk to Eddie and John, and you can take that assessment and get data associated with how you guys are doing. And data is, as you can see, or as you can imagine, in this kind of arena, data is actually kind of hard to come by. It's difficult to measure culture often, but our assessment is really, really great. And then you can see the growth over time. So
Yeah.
What do you have? What do you have to add to that, John?
That's fantastic. Would love to open it up for a question or two, but you're so right. In nature, healthy things grow and growing things multiply. And there becomes this tipping point where you can't even control the multiplication. You can't control the speed of that flywheel. Once it gets going, that force is like you couldn't stop it if you wanted to, in a way. And it is a magical, mysterious, beautiful thing that when a team does get into a flow state together, the capacity, the performance just grows, and the engagement is there. So one of the neat things as well from this tool that you reminded me of is that every other visual tool that we use to communicate this language and to communicate these principles is every other tool falls into one of these 5 categories, pretty much. Would you agree or disagree, Amy? That pretty much our entire tool
I agree.
is filled with, hey, these are things that you can use for communication issues. These are issues for relationship and trust issues. These are areas and tools to help you with the principles that you need for alignment. So it's a really neat tool that encompasses, like an umbrella, all the categories where things can go wrong that really kill capacity and performance. So yeah, awesome. I don't think I've heard the tool. I'm not just saying this either. That was a really simple but in-depth explanation. Thank you. That was great. Eddie?
Yeah, do you guys, we have a couple more minutes. Anybody's got any questions, comments before I close? Michael.
Hey, good to hear from you guys. Amy, spot on. Loved it. I'm a brand new guy just going through the process. And so I think this is God anointed, because I'm actually walking into one of my clients on Friday that wants to expand to a 4th location, but I needed a visual way to explain that their communication, their language isn't where it needs to be, although they're making money. Really that whole wheel represents a culture, right? When you add it all together. And so I think this is spot on. Quick question, where would I find the assessment? Is it actually called the same name, assessment, or where is that in the resource tools?
Eddie, do you want to send that in the chat for him?
Yeah, I'll send you, I have your number. I'll send you an exact spot, Michael, for sure.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking.
Great.
Thank you.
It's on my list.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm going to honor your guys' time. We'll just take just that one question for now. And if you guys need anything, if you guys want to take the assessment, feel free to reach out. And Amy, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for taking 20 minutes and just giving us, yes, Kristen, you're right, that gold. I love hearing everybody's perspective on the tools. I knew that the performance wheel is such a key and kind of like initial foundational part to all the tools that we use after that. And so, yeah, thank you so much for taking the time, and we really appreciate you.
Thanks, guys.